Taoiseach, as we sit here, Minister Howland is in another building announcing the sell-off of state assets to the tune of $3 billion. And I, as a person who has the privilege of leading the Sinn Féin party as part of the opposition, have to depend upon someone sending me a text to tell me of this. Is this not a matter that should come into this chamber for us to discuss? The government is selling off successful self-financing commercial state companies such as Bord Gáis, the energy business, the ASB, and so on and so forth. And instead of flogging off the state's wealth for a quick buck, the government should make commercial state companies part and parcel of the solution in creating jobs and delivering growth. And, both government parties, bad enough Fine Gael, but more Manaira, the party in October, are saying, well, the Troika is making us do this. Sinn Féin have met with the Troika, and they've told us, well, they believe in privatisation, that they do not assert, in fact they say contrary, that this is a matter for the government, that the memorandum of understanding does not bind Labour and Fine Gael to this course of action. So it's your decision, and well may the Minister for Energy smile. He will be the Labour Minister who gives away what's left of our assets. So, Taoiseach, would you give this chamber detail of what's now been announced outside of the chamber by one of your ministers, by a Labour minister?
Thank you. Taoiseach.
The government made a decision on this yesterday. It was very clearly made public that the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform would give details of that decision in his press conference this morning. I think it's important for you to be able to understand, Deputy, that the original intention here was that every cent that might accrue from the sale of any state assets was to go to debt reduction. The renegotiation... No. The renegotiation...
Without interruption, please. Thank you.
It was all for...
You didn't even know what you were saying. You didn't even know.
It was all for debt reduction.
Please proceed, teacher. Thank you. Deputy. Would you please proceed?
Every cent of it was to go for debt reduction. Now, what the government decided yesterday was that the sale of state assets that might be agreed by government, not in a fire sale situation, but at an appropriate time and for the optimum amount, would be targeted to reach $3 billion. And the outcome of the discussions between the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform and the Minister for Finance and the Troika was that once the disposal of state assets of over $1 billion would be reached, that 1/3 of that from the first euro would apply. So in the context of achieving a $3 billion sale of state assets, the state would have $1 billion to invest in job creation and opportunities for work and for employment. Now, in the question of the state assets that you mentioned, in regard to the energy market, the intention here is that when the government actually decide on the details of what's to be involved here, that this would make a real impact competitively in the market, which would be of interest both to the economy generally and to consumers. And it's not to dispose of everything associated with these assets. In the energy area, it would be to deal with the energy element of Bord Gáis and some power generation of within the ESB. And the Minister for Communications, Energy and Natural Resources will consult and will bring to Cabinet in due course his recommendations for what element of power generation within the ESB would be disposed of. I want to say to you, Deputy Adams, that the objective and the target of the government is to have a limit here of reaching 3 billion of disposal of state assets at the appropriate time, at the best opportune price for the state. I don't envisage that any of this would happen this year, but I do envisage that you could have the commencement and realisation of some of the sale of state assets in 2013.
Thank you. Deputy Adams, 1 minute.
Well, Taoiseach, I didn't intend to raise this issue at all, because today we hear that we have historically high numbers of children in sick and dangerous conditions on trolleys. That's what I wanted to raise. But then I heard that Minister Howland was making this announcement outside of here. Now, is there something odd that it takes a leader of Sinn Féin to tell this chamber what the government's doing, that the government doesn't come and tell the deputies here what's happening? May I also tell you that there's consideration? Would you confirm that there's consideration also being given to the sell-off of Aer Lingus and Kielce when market conditions are right? Now, you talk about 3 billion. Here's a wonderful sum of money, 3 billion. You're giving 3.1 billion as a present at the end of this month to the banks.
Please.
So this money at the end of next month, on the 31st of March. So I think it's a myth, Taoiseach, to say that privatisation, deregulation brings competitiveness and efficiencies in state bodies. It will mean job losses, increased prices for the consumers, and big profits for private speculators. So, Taoiseach, why didn't the government give the Dáil the courtesy it deserved and come in here and make this announcement to those of us like you who have a mandate? Is there no respect at all for Teach the Dáil from this government?